When Regis was established, its curriculum was founded upon what was deemed a classical and scientific offering. Although up through the time the 1941 boys were there, much of the studies were anchored on classical courses with limited offerings in the sciences.
There was practically no choice when you came here, in terms of it was Latin and then sometimes Greek. Over time, you could specialize and take an additional science courses, but that was much later. They did have mathematics. That was here, math, English, history, but a heavy emphasis, because it was a classical school, it was heavy emphasis on classical languages. Obviously rhetoric too, public speaking, that was a big part of it also, which was very fundamental to a Jesuit education, the art of public speaking, which of course would have been rooted in the classical world too, the art of persuasion. So obviously the Hearn program, the Hearn and public speaking and debate, which is still very much part of the robust life of the school, is very reflective of the early years and even the early years of Jesuit pedagogy.
It didn't take very long for Regis to take its place amongst the very top Catholic schools in the country. The class of 1941's junior year also marked the 25th anniversary of the founding of Regis. It was a timely opportunity to celebrate how far the school had come in such a short period of time. It was also a time for reflection on the philosophical underpinning of the Regis educational model during those early years. Charles Taylor would undertake such a study when he was working on his master's degree. He'd been a scholastic who taught at Regis in the mid-1930s and would later be appointed the school's principal in 1943.
So Father Taylor did a study. He was, I believe, a scholastic when he did it, looking at the first 25 years of the school's existence. And what he was trying to say was Regis was a special school. He kind of called it a Jeffersonian model rather than a Jacksonian model, where Jackson was kind of the age of the common man. But Jefferson was educating the talents at 10th, if you will. And he thought that was a particular model of here, and with very high standards. You offer a very demanding education, and you can see who can live up to it, and you don't water it down. You don't let down your standards.
The effect of such uncompromising standards became clear very quickly. Throughout the 1920s and 30s, Regis's province exam scores were consistently and meaningfully better than other Jesuit schools in the region that Regis was no longer required to participate. But what has helped keep Regis ahead is to constantly reevaluate and evolve its academic program.
In the period of the late 1960s and 70s, when society was changing in dramatic ways, and there was a real strain of anti-hierarchy, kind of giving more power to people on the ground level, that led to all sorts of things where, pick a language. By the 80s, we'd have various modern languages. In the early days of the school, there really wasn't a theology class. Students, a couple of times a week, had a catechism class where they'd be told to memorize and learn certain facts about their faith. But the thought was that it was really in history and in English class that you explored questions of belief by reading certain authors.
Science became more of a focus over time.
More time studying science. Like, for example, when Dr. Fauci was here graduated in 1958, I believe he never took biology. I think he only took chemistry or physics. He took one science course in his 4 years. And that was true for many years. And then they added a second. One of the reasons why you could take a modern language, and one of them would have been German instead of taking Greek, was if you wanted to follow a science track where much of the academic literature was written in German. So that's why the boys would have taken German if they wanted to do science.